Hi, I'm Cesar Dela Cruz with the Tolleson-Mack podcast. To my right, we got world champion Clay Smith, and to the far right is Benny Mosley.
Hello.
Thank you, boys, for
Thank you.
spending the afternoon with me over here. Tell some
Sure.
good stories. Good stories. Clay, I've been following your career ever since, man. You were a little bitty guy. You actually wanted to be a world champion healer at one point in your career, right?
Yes, never thought I'd be heading at the NFR. That's for sure.
A kind of a little bit similar story to Coulter. He was the same way. He made the final. So maybe in the future you have that. And
I think if anybody's seen me heal lately, it's gonna be a lot of work. No, I love to heal, and I've done it a lot. And I said I think healing, and Coulter's proven it's not true. But I said I think healing is not like riding a bike. I think you can lose it, but
man,
Coulter's roping really good.
proud of that guy. I used to spend a lot of steers for him in Wilcox, the ranch, and he didn't miss very many back then. I knew he could do it, and proud of him and Derek for doing that. My two favorite headers. I owe a lot of my credit for them
Yeah,
guys.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I've seen you at the Ironman too, do some work. Man, that's been really impressive to see. It's not just heading. You can rope calves, you can bulldog, you can do it all. Explain to the people that never been to Ironman competition. Explain what goes on over there.
It that deal was honestly before the NFR. That was something, winning the world, winning the time events, like huge for me, and partly because the timed events in Oklahoma, and so we followed it pretty close. But I started bulldogging because of the timed event, because I wanted to enter the timed event, and then I kind of got to liking it when I was, I guess it was my junior year in high school, and I kind of got to liking bulldogging, and so I kind of stuck with it for a while, and then I got in the timed event way earlier than I should have been able to get into it, but I was close and I was willing and I was ready. Somebody got hurt. I think it was Jimmy Cooper. The first year I ever got in, I think I was 20. I think I was 20 years old. I'm pretty sure. Jimmy Cooper gets hurt, and they called, and I had never tripped a steer, but I had bulldogged, roped calves, done it all. I had never tripped a steer, and they called 2 days before the check-in at the timed event and said, "Hey, can you come to the timed event?" And I said, "Yeah, I can come." And so I went
I'll be
immediately.
there.
I went immediately, and Robin Bland let me borrow a tripping horse, and I go trip some steers, and I did okay. Not, I mean, now looking at it back, it was terrible, but I didn't just completely embarrass myself. I guess the first year, and then the second year I go back, I won. Uh, I think the second year I go back, I'm high call and I break the barrier to win it. The second year, and then it's just been like few things happen. I've kind of got hurt a couple times, and didn't do good enough. But man, I want to win that deal so bad, and it's a lot of fun. I'm entered right now this year, and so I'm kind of excited. I'd love to win that thing.
Benny, you're a calf roper a little bit. Tell me about the kind of game that Clay's pretty humble, but tell the listeners how much game this guy's got in the calf roping as well.
Man, that's honestly how we started talking to each other. I knew he was heading team roping, but I didn't know him as a team roper. And he showed up down maybe Pasadena.
Yeah,
You got a horse from Shane Slack, right?
yeah. I had a horse from Shane. Joe let me borrow the horse a couple times.
And man, I seen him do some phenomenal stuff. Like, didn't look like he could go very fast. And when he stepped off, like, it was down there and timed down. And all right, Clay Smith, what's up, my boy? How you doing? Talk to me. You train horses, head, heel. What's up? Like, yeah.
I love roping calves, but it's
A lot of work in it.
it is a lot of work. Me and my brother did it quite a bit in high school. I did when I guess like my claim to fame in the calf roping is win the IFR 1 year at Shawnee. I won the all around that year at Shawnee, but that was kind of my. I loved it, and in high school I had a pretty cool horse in high school that could really run and really stop, and so it was kind of nice, and I loved it. And it's one of those deals where you Jake liked it, didn't love it, and if you're the only person roping calves, it's not that fun.
It's
It's
not
not
fun
fun.
at all.
Not fun. You need to be around 2 or 3 guys roping calves all the time, and then it just become to where we stay so busy riding outside horses, and not saying that I was ever going to be that great of a calf roper, but I did love it. And
No, don't y'all get it wrong. He can rope calves.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
but anyway, we stuck with the horse riding and team roping. It just kind of was easier for us.
And give your brothers a shout out too a little bit, so the listeners know who they are. And
I got two brothers, Jake and Britt Smith. We're all named after delinquent team ropers. No, that they named me. I was born first, and it was Clay O'Brien,
Yeah,
and it was Jake, and it was Jake and Clay was the duo, but that was kind of a cool story. I don't know if you know about that deal. Probably heard maybe.
Yeah. Like I said, I've heard a little bit about it. I've been following your story for a little bit, but like
Jake, my mom was pregnant, had a brother that was named Billy, and he passed away, and my mom was gonna name the second kid after him, and my dad's like, that's fine. Well, got kind of closer to time, and they said, man, you got a Clay, you got to name him Jake, right? And my mom was like, you know what? Okay, we're gonna do that, and so they somehow find Jake Barnes' phone number, whatever. They called Jake, and they said, hey, we're gonna name our kid Jake, but we don't know a middle name to go along with that. And he said, well, ma'am, my first name's Billy, my middle name's Jake. And so it was just like kind of one of the meant to be deals. And so his Jake.
That's pretty cool.
So, but Jake is 2 years younger than me, and then Britt's 10 years younger than me, and Britt's 22, Jake's 30. Jake's just had his third kid like last week.
That's
right
awesome.
Before we got out here. Little girl. He's got 2 boys and a girl. I got 3 kids. I got 2 girls and a boy. And
awesome.
Britt, we don't know about Britt yet.
I love that boy. I'm glad he's been heading really good too. You guys all styles look similar too, so you can tell your brothers out there roping. Man, and then tell us about a little TV show you guys were on when you were little bitty kids.
That was kind of a weird deal. Jake was always better at me at dummy roping. Like, he still to this day is kind of embarrassing. He can outreach me on the dummy, like just standing up here, and I get a lot of heck from my wife about it, but I can't believe he was the dummy roping king, Jake was, and the only time I ever beat him, I guess, was at the U.S. Finals one time. I got down to me and him. I beat him one time in front of everybody. And I said, that's all that matters, Yeah, I won.
One time. I did it one time.
I won at the biggest one. So, it wasn't the biggest one. We used to come out here to Las Vegas for the dummy roping. We followed dummy roping around everywhere.
Do you remember I pulled my the rope off them horns?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Coulter's, was the first NFR, 2006, right? I think it was.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it was
probably
a minute ago. That's what I mean. I've been following your career a long time.
I mean, same for you. Like, I mean, you and Cole, it was cool. I mean, yeah, we lived, breathed team roping. And so, like, I mean, yeah, it was awesome to go to the dummy roping and all the guys standing around the stage. And it was cool of you, and they don't do that anymore. Like, I went to the dummy roping this week, and my kid has just started doing the dummy roping deal, and it's not the same as what it used to be back then. All the guys was sitting around, and it was a huge deal, and
I enjoyed coming watching the young talents.
Yeah.
And then it put I wouldn't want to be a judge, in the kids roping deal, because I know that, that's heartbreaking too. But anyway, yeah, we dummy roped all the time, and Jake won the deal out here in Las Vegas when I think he was 4.
He was a little bitty guy.
He was 4.
Yeah.
He won the 5 and under age group, and somebody at the Tonight Show production gets to
Jay Leno, right?
Mm-hmm. They get to looking at dummy roping, and they just thought it was the most funniest thing they've ever heard of. They're like, dummy roping? What is dummy roping? And they said, so they started making phone calls to all these, like Booger Barter and these people that put on dummy ropings, and they're like, what is dummy roping? And they're explaining to it, and they're like, well, who do we need to talk to? And they said, well, the Smith boys are kind of the dummy ropers, And so they called my dad, and he said it was on April Fool's Day, and which is so crazy for me to even think about that. But he said he got a phone call on April Fool's, like April 1st, and he said they were wanting to talk to us about being on the Tonight Show, and he thought it was a joke.
Who's messing with me?
He thought it was a joke, and so anyway, they said, we want to talk to the boys, and if y'all are interested in doing something like that. And they said, he's like, hey, number one, we can't afford to go out there. Number two, we've never been in New York. And they said, well, number one, we're going to pay you to come out. Number two, it's not in New York. It's in Los Angeles. And so he said, oh, well, we might think about doing something like that. And So he talked to my brother. They talked to Jake he was 5, I guess, at the time now, and they talked to him, and Jake, he's been full of crap his whole life,
So hilarious.
And he talked to him for like an hour on the phone, and
Like
he
he
gets
was a
off.
grown man?
Yeah,
Grown man
when he was
conversation?
5 years old, he just tell him stories about horses laying down and getting bucked off and all this stuff, And these people don't know what you might as well be talking about like jet airplanes or something. They have no idea what he's even talking about, but they just thought it was the funniest thing.
The cutest little kid, you know what I mean?
And so they hand the phone back to my dad, and they said, "All right, that's good. Like, can we talk to the youngest one now?" And he said, "That was the youngest one. That was Jake." And so they said, "Okay." So they fly us out, and we get to go out there, and they took us to Disney World or Disneyland, whichever one's in California, and walked us around like we were movie stars, like cut in front of the lines and stuff. We was so little, barely remember stuff like that, but they rode us around in a limo for a couple of days and
Nice.
put us up in the uh, Beverly Hilton, in California. It was kind of cool. And then we got to meet Jay in the back. He came back there, and then they wanted us to rope Jay on the stage. And so anyway, it was kind of, I remember pieces of it, but it was a pretty cool experience.
Does he have a ranch?
Jay?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he does or not. That guy, we give him a cowboy toy. We give him a little cowboy toy, and I kind of wonder what he's done with that. But he really was a pretty cool dude.
Was he comical? I bet him and Jake fed off each other.
A funny guy.
Stories, yeah.
He's a funny guy. He really is.
Talk more about this. The dummy ropings that started your career off, right? And you had ambitions to be a world champion. You went through the ranks, high school, and trained some horses. And man, the first gold buckle, that experience. Talk to us a little bit about that. And what year was that again?
2018.
Yes, sir. 2018.
2018. I guess it's one of those deals where, we just hillbilly kids. I mean, nothing. Like, I think growing up, you look at guys. I remember looking at you and people like that. You think growing up, you're like, man, I want to do it, but you think that it's something that's so unattainable that it's like,
oh yeah,
you work and you think you can do it, but deep down you're like, man, there's probably something different about them guys, or something.
I had the
like
same
that.
feeling, dude.
Like,
I promise you, I had the same feelings.
And I guess I would like, the biggest thing for young kids now is they need to know there ain't nothing different than, some people are more fortunate to maybe have better horses, and maybe the financial thing is not a problem as it is on some guys growing up, where winning is maybe a little bit more important financially. But then at the same time, some of those guys have to work harder than it is. So money has nothing to do with it. It's the drive inside of you that has everything to do with it.
If you got to drive, I feel like you can get the money.
Yeah, that's right.
Go do it.
If you work and do things the right way, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. You can be as good as you want to be at anything. But so, the dummy roping deal growing up was, I mean, it's weird. There's pictures in the house. It talks about, I think I had like a timeline deal that they did when I was maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, and it said it had me like dummy roping at 2, 3, like, and then roping off a horse I started roping off a horse when I was 5, like entering ropings when I was 5 off a horse and stuff like that. And then it said on there, like NFR, here I come, or something like that. And
Awesome.
It's still at home, but it was my dream. And so to make it out here the first year was like, oh man, now you can like take a deep breath, like, okay, you know what? Actually, I
can do this.
Right. Yeah. You can do it. It's not something. And then, okay, then you have to, and I don't care who you are. The first year you make it out here, I know that you're thinking about, man, I'd love to win the world, but you're not really thinking about that, honestly, until about the 3rd year. There's some people that are freaks that honestly mature so much faster. And I'm not saying I was not maybe a early bloomer, and so it took me a little while longer to figure it out. But, whenever you figure out that, hey, I can make it, I've got all the things in line, my horses are good, but then to actually, and then how it is out here too. I mean, a lot of things has to go your way.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's
You know how
If you
tough
can
it is.
draw, it's all if you can draw right in the middle of the herd and hit the barrier every time, it's a fun time. But if you're struggling, it's I say it's like a quicksand. If you're kind of fighting a little bit, you're gonna end up
For
over
sure.
your head. But if you can kind of just relax, you'll stay afloat.
When did you know you had a chance though,
So,
or started calculating?
so about so that was in 2000 and I made it the first year 2015, made it in 16, 17 was kind of winning, winning a little bit more, and then 2018 I came in winning the world. That's what it was. 2017 we had a chance maybe out here in 2017 and didn't get it done. In 2018 I think is when me and Paul we set the single season earnings that year and came in, and it was a fight all year, and we came in and was having a pretty good finals, but Caleb and Junior were having a good finals too. I'm pretty sure that's 18 or yeah, I think that was 18. They were having a good finals too, and so it was honestly one of the tougher years as far as there was two teams that was they was good in the average. We had a chance in the average, and it was just kind of back and forth all year. And um, I think it came down to it came to round 10. I had to place fifth or better in the round. I had to win a check in the round. I think it was fifth or better in the round to win the world, and I am next to last out. Yeah, I'm next to last out, and
I remember this. I was with Cole.
I'd rode my gray out here like 2 or 3 years previous, and I don't care what kind of head horse you ride out here. You ride them out here for 2 or 3 times, and you try to win something a day monies, they get tight.
Oh man,
And
head horse is fast.
by the 10th steer, he was tight, and so I remember the run. We had a bighorn black steer, and was pretty sharp, and I hit the barrier, and the round wasn't. It always seems like the 10th round is the easiest time to win a check. I mean, it may not be the easiest to win it, but to place is the easiest round. It seems like maybe the first and the 10th are the two easiest rounds to place, and just so happened I think 5-5 or something is winning good money, and so I thought, man. But it don't matter. Your horse is so tight. You might as well be three. You have a better chance of being 3-5 than 6-5. Everybody, and I'm the same way. Everybody at home is like, why don't you just catch the rounds easy? Okay. You need to switch horses if you're going to do that.
Here
You
we
can't
go.
you can't be on the same horse and hit the
Yeah,
barrier throw, hit the
here
barrier
we go,
throw,
here
and
we
then go
go.
3 swings. And so I had to take a pretty good shot at him. And I did. My horse he peeled out, and I somehow get it stacked on the horn. Don't know how. And I'm looking down, and about that time I feel a tug. Paul's got him up around the guts, and pulls him back, and we're like 4-4, maybe win second or third in that round, and it sealed the deal that time. And it was like that. It was a pretty awesome feeling, really. Like, I mean, it's kind of what you hold. It's what you did it for. Honestly, is to win that, and
Got it.
finally got it.
Yeah.
Finally.
And then it's and then it's like then it's never enough. Then it's like, okay, now I need to win another one. Now I need to
Give me
win
another
another
shot.
one. Now I need to win another.
Give me another shot.
So you get caught on a hamster wheel so easy, and so it's kind of one of them deals. I hadn't done that good the last couple of years. Had some crazy things happen, but it's been
Man, one of the crazy things that happened right there. Let's you broke your leg at Prescott, Arizona. I was wanting to kind of talk to you a little bit about that. Man, it was you can kind of explain it a little bit more for the fans, but like Prescott for people that don't know, you're coming out of the heel box, header and heeler come out of the heel box. The header's got a crossover, rope steer turning. It's a cowboy setup for sure. And we were talking about earlier the neck rope on the steer is 19 foot long,
yeah.
and it's that's a long that's the longest barrier they can have. So neck rope they can have, and the barrier pulls a little bit longer too because the box is kind of wider.
Right.
And so explain kind of what happened.
So we was just fixing to get rodeo, and I think we was headed home. We stay at friends of ours in Utah. Jared Fillmore,
Yeah.
he's got a place in Payson, Utah, and his family are the best people in the world. They just like second family for us, and they keep us. And so we're headed back to their house from Greeley, and we got drawn out at Prescott. Everybody enters for that one perfect
Mhm.
Prescott. I think it's the first perfect. I guess
Mhm.
everybody enters for that or out, and there's 40 teams asking for it. We get drawn out, and so we're not going. We get a phone call.
Somebody turn out.
Somebody turned out. They said, "Hey, would you come to, if you want to come to Greeley, we got a spot." And so we're like, "Yeah, well, that's perfect." So, um, we just start headed to Prescott, and I'm on a horse that I had just got from my father-in-law that is now my main jackpot horse, and I was only gonna I took him to BFI that year, was his first big jackpot, and I'll come high team back and the steer kind of slips down in the corner that year, but that horse was going to be my jackpot horse. I wasn't going to rodeo on him,
Yeah.
but I'm like, Prescott long score.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
finna ride
his
him.
deal.
Ride him.
He's a Corona cartel. He's super fast. And so, to me, he's super fast. So I'm going to ride him at Prescott. And I thought, just go turn 2 steers. We get over there. It's a beautiful day. We get over there about 2 hours before the perf. Starts pouring down rain. Just pouring down. And I sent
The vibe goes away.
I sent a video to my wife. I'm like, why in the heck do we even come over here, And so, and then team roping's way down there in the perf, and then you run on the slack. Well, we're waiting around. It finally stops raining. Arena's okay. It's pretty muddy, but it's cold, and then that's the same night that there was a guy opening the chute in the bareback ride, and he's standing by the chute, and a horse somehow or another gets his leg through the chute and dots him right in the head, lays him out in the mud, right from the chute. So they cart him out, stop the rodeo.
What are you thinking is this for?
They cart him out, and I'm like, that's crazy, like.
It's a 2 hours
nuts.
perf anyways.
It takes forever
Yeah.
by the time we team rope, and so they cart him out, and anyway. I'm like, I've always never hit the barrier right at Prescott. I've been there 3 or 4 times, and I'm always late. It seems like on the first one. I thought I'm gonna nail the barrier on the first one, and so I did get I've come across there. And I'm like, I got a shot right here to be, win something in the round for sure. And I can see the neck rope when it comes off the steer. It comes up in my vision, like it goes up kind of higher like this, and I can see it come up, but I'm running. And I mean, I'm looking at the steer, but just out of the peripheral vision.
Are you swinging already?
Yeah, I'm swinging already. Yeah, like I had a swing off, and I exactly what you thought. I thought it was gonna hit my rope.
Yeah.
So I thought it's gonna hit my rope. Well, it don't hit my rope. I'm like, it's good. But when it lowers down, my horse runs through. So it's almost basically like my horse run through two barriers. So what happened is when the neck rope went down, the steer had stepped right. Well, I'm going to the left side to get on the left side of him. And so I'm going the left side. Well, the neck rope comes down, and my horse chest hits the middle of the neck rope, and I can feel something. And at the time, like thinking back, it happened so fast, but I can feel
On
it
that
hit my leg
on
the
hit
stirrup,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, oh, I'm still good. Well, when it gets to the end,
So you never look down.
never look
Like
down.
you never in the swing.
I'm in the swing. I'm chasing the steer. I feel it go around my leg, and when I hit the end of it, it wrapped around my spur. It wrapped around my spur. The neck rope wrapped around. If I wasn't wearing spurs, it would have never happened. It wrapped around my spur, and when it did, the chute's this way, and it was around my horse's chest. So all it did was it turned my toe in, turned my stirrup, turned my foot into my horse like that, and it got to a certain point, and thank God it came off my spur at the end when it turned back that way, or it would have jerked my leg off her. I don't know what would have. I don't know what would have gave. The rope wasn't going to break, and so it just turned it so far, and then in that moment it wasn't like 2 seconds or less than that. It was.
So
you were still after him though. Like you tried to put pressure on the leg, and you felt, and then you were like pulled up, and like you were.
I didn't know what happened.
You were still after him though. Like that was the deal. Your leg was kind of like, and then like as soon as you tried to stand, like you felt it, and then like okay, now I gotta.
I didn't know what happened, and when it was just the craziest pain I've ever had. That fast, it was like.
Boy, you wanted to cry.
It was the craziest pain I ever had, and I looked down, and I look at Jake Long. He's right there, and I said, "I broke my leg," and he's like, "I know," and so it's your right leg. You can't get off a horse, so like I'm just sitting there, and that horse is crazy anyway. Like he's hopping around, and my legs dangling, and I don't know how to get off, don't know what to do, and I remember Marcus Terrio was there. I think Nelson White was there that night. There was several guys. They came over and like they get me off the horse, and then they just carry me like that back there, and my leg. It didn't matter what happened. My leg was dangling. It felt like my leg was gonna come off.
It broke both bones.
It was a spiral fracture, both bones, at my shin, which is it was just a terrible spot for it to happen.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's not like the end of the world. They took me and they put me in an ambulance and they get me back to Prescott and they do surgery on me the next day and they put a rod from my knee to my ankle with screws, and then I get home 3 or 4 days later, and about that next week was, yeah, my wife didn't like me very much. I was probably pretty
Man.
grouchy. Like, just lay around and you don't feel good. You just
Oh yeah,
feel terrible.
man.
Did the motions hit bad?
You guys were in a good spot in the world standings right there too. Like,
pretty
you
good.
know,
We was top 2, 3,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
second or third at the time. Had a decent winter.
Got y'all asses.
And it was one of those deals like every rodeo guy. It seems like this rodeo, like at some point in the summer, you're like, man, I'd like to go home for a little while, and then I don't know what it is in us.
as soon as you get to go home for a little while, you're wanting to be out there again.
As soon as you get home and you're like, everything's good, like I'm okay. You don't know anything else. That's what's bad is you train yourself to not know anything else but go to a rodeo. Honestly, you get good at driving. Hell, you like to drive. Like it's
do.
what's weird is like I like to drive, and so I get home, I'm sitting in a chair, can't do nothing, and I love my family, but they go with me everywhere, anywhere, anyway, and so it's like I'm ready. And then the Cowboy Channel, it's kind of funny. Everybody said, "Man, I love the Cowboy Channel." God, I hated the Cowboy
Oh,
Channel
yeah.
because all I did was watch rodeos every day.
It's just poking.
Oh, yeah. My wife made me stop watching them because I get through watching it and it makes me so mad.
Throw the remote control through the
Like,
screen.
so mad.
Yeah.
It was good to keep up with guys, but honestly, it hurt
It's like torture.
watching the rodeos.
It's torture.
And
It was.
so,
I think it made you come back faster and
Yeah, it did
stronger
for-
than ever. Whenever you did come back, it
it
was.
did make me.
And like, I mean, you
You
were
did
roping
come
with a
back fast.
boot. Like you come back and like that. Tell everybody about that little.
Well, I
You were in
can't honestly
pain. I know.
say that.
When you coming back, I know you were in pain because that's you're talking about. That's all you know.
It was so I get home and they tell me I checked myself out. My mother and father-in-law drive from Texas home to all the way to Phoenix. My wife flew home because there wasn't nothing she could do. She had, I'm trying to think at the time. Yeah, I guess we had 3 kids at the time. So she flies home. We've got a tiny baby and then 2 other ones, and so she flies home. My father and mother-in-law came out, drove all the way out to Phoenix, checked me out of the room early. Cause I'm like, I'm going home. There was nothing else they can do. Doctor didn't even come back there to check on me. It was kind of a weird deal, but so I go home, and I ride in a truck with them all the way back home in the backseat of a truck. And so I get home, and then I'm laying there, and a friend of mine is an orthopedic surgeon in Kansas City, Missouri, and he's amazing, Dan Carroll. And so I send the X-rays to Dan Carroll, what they done after. I go get X-rays done after they did the surgery on me. He's like, it looks pretty good. He said, but it's gonna take some time or whatever. And I kind of told him what I was wanting to do. In my mind, I thought if I rigged a stirrup up, do all this and that. And he's like, hey, you know your body more than anything. He's like, you. And then I heard I went and seen other doctors, and they told me, they said, man, you're talking about probably 16 weeks. They said 16 to 18 weeks before you can start doing something. And man, it made me mad. I'm like, it pissed me off real bad. And so I was like, But then
I'm
they
a
told me,
cowboy.
they said, you need to start moving your legs. Well, I'm like, well,
I know it's
I
for a
said-
normal person, but I'm a cowboy.
We'll
if I can
figure this
move
out.
if I can move my legs, I can surely ride a horse. I mean, it's not that hard to ride a horse set up there.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'm gonna try it, And so friend of mine, Doug Harrigal, he's a saddle maker right there by me. And I explained to him what I want to do. He rigs my saddle up. My neighbor brings me a walking boot stirrup, a big metal stirrup that's been passed around several times now by my buddies. And he brought me a walking boot stirrup. And they didn't put a walking boot on me. Like, a walking boot did nothing for my injury. All it was for riding. Because when they did the surgery on me, the rod and the screws and all that kept it straight. So, like,
Yeah.
I didn't need a walking boot. All that was I was like, I got to have something around that leg.
Yeah.
Because if you, if you flicked it, the whole leg hurt, And so that kept me stable, and I put it in a stirrup. And then I tell Jake Long that I'm like, hey, I'm going to try it. And he's like, man, don't, don't. Whatever, he said, but whatever you think. And so, and then Brock Hansen had a big part in what we was doing. You know, like Brock Hansen was entering with Jake Long, um, and at any moment he was going to draw out and stay home because I didn't know if I was going to go or not. And you know, typical. This is a whole nother story about how they was trying to do me on that. But anyway, I entered some rodeos and I said, Brock, I don't think I'm gonna try it. You know, I went and practiced. I went and practiced the first day, and so this happened. It seemed like I was at home forever. I was at home for about 3 weeks, and the fourth, it was in Prescott is when I broke my leg, and at my first rodeo back was the Dodge City week. So I don't know when. I think it's like 3.5, 4 weeks. I was
Yeah.
that was when I came back, and so but I went and practiced. The first time I went and practiced, I had it rigged up how I thought it was gonna work, you know, and I'm tied in, and I mean it looks so goofy, you know. But the first year I run, I was the first time I ever backed in the box, and I was nervous to run. Yeah.
You ain't know what that pain was.
I back in the box, and it was like I was fixing to go on a roller coaster. You know, I was so nervous.
That first kick, huh?
I couldn't right. I just didn't know how it was gonna feel whenever the initial. And I'm riding the horse, the race horse, because I thought if I have a chance to win, I've got to be on the fastest horse I could be on because I can't kick. And he goes to the steer, and so the first steer on him, he would snap me back when I had two legs, and so I was super nervous about running one. And anyway, the first year, I'll never forget. I was wearing a ball cap. First year I come out and I'm at my buddy Cole Davis's house. I snap me back. I lose my cap. First year. Just barely hang on and I don't catch. But I'm like, it didn't hurt too bad. Like it's gonna be okay. And so I run two more, quit. The next day I got my equipment rigged up better. And I went and I turned 3 for 3 the next day, and I said that's it. And so I told Jake and Brock that I said, hey, I'm gonna try it. And so the first rodeo was Phillipsburg that week. And anyway, like I said, it's one of them God things. Like the first week back at Dodge City, I won more that week I think than I've ever won rodeo on that week. It's just went like 16 or 17,000 that week, and
cleaned house.
That week you need a horse who kind of runs up there and you spin steers aggressive right there, and you have a healer throwing fast, which you always do. Like you're gonna win a lot of them. That sets up for your.
That's when the theory of the 4th of July, the next week's even better.
I think August is just as big. You know what I mean?
You know, that week is unreal. Like I said, honestly, I never won that much that week, so I didn't even know that you could win that much. I won. Dodge seems to always be good to me. I've won Dodge a couple times or 3, maybe, but that week I didn't really know that there was that much money to be won, and it was amazing. Honestly, I thought I was gonna, you know, I'm gonna grind it out and do it, and I didn't know how good it was gonna go, and it went pretty good the first week, and then it was just kind of it. We had to grind all the whole year because it's weird. 4 weeks, it sounds like nothing, but when you miss 4 weeks of the most important time, it is nothing unless you don't win. You can't afford to not win when you come back after that. And so every rodeo, and it was amazing how good that my partner roped that the rest of the time. Every 2-header we placed at, and every short round we made, every short round of every 2 and a short from starting at Dodge on. And so that was really what got it done.
And you're tougher than nails, man. I tell you what, to break your leg in a few weeks, just a few weeks later, you're kind of back and wanting to.
I couldn't take it,
man. Like if there's a will, there's a way. You kind of got that cowboy spirit for sure. You guys really turned it on this second half. I'm happy to see you guys really the last few nights been getting them down, getting some good solid checks over there. I mean, this is what you do for a living, and you're kind of. We were talking about it just a little while ago about. Man, I've seen your career from the dummy ropings all the way to, you know, the high school level, your heeling to the head, and then to you were mentioning what are you gonna do out after rodeo? What's your plan? And you mentioned you got these premier rope horses, and
so yeah, it's good or bad. I don't know. The only thing I know how to do, and I'm not saying I know how to do it the best, is the only thing I know how to do is ride horses and rope. And so I thought the only thing that you can honestly do. As far, you know, you hear talk about people investing stuff, and the only thing I know how to invest in is horses, and that's the only thing that I do know anything about. And like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the good Lord placing the right horses in at me at the right time. But the my favorite horses have been the horses that has been like my gray. I got him when he was 4, and then like it's just been crazy. I've I guess I get comfortable with horses, and I don't know, I've had good luck with horses, but um, the mare that I'm riding out here is a really good bred mare that David James raised the mare, and I brought her out here, and I thought I was gonna ride her eventually. Maybe next year would be her time, and it's just kind of crazy how it worked. And it started off not going so good, and so I thought, you know what, I'm real comfortable on her, and it had nothing to do with the horse I was riding before. He's a great horse. I rode him all year, and um, Clay Dean's horse, Chief, he's a great horse. But I thought I'm gonna just try something different, and I get on the mare, and all of a sudden it just goes to clicking super good. And I've got her. She's gonna have a foal. She's got a baby and a resit mare right now. It's gonna foal in the spring, and so out of our stud, and so we have a stud that's his name's Betty's a Jennin, and he's out of a Betty's a Cat and out of an own daughter Stoley, and crazy good looking nice horse, and so we're super excited about the baby this spring.
Talk to us about that, your little mare's journey in the futurities. She's had
So
quite the winning
yeah,
career.
it's been kind of crazy. I've always helped at the shows and helped at the futurities, and so I kind of did that to kind of learn and kind of figure out, you know, I knew eventually I didn't know it was going to get as big as what it did. The futurities, I could see it was coming, and I was helping guys and kind of was paying attention and seeing what was winning and stuff like that. And so um, the mare got her when she was 2. Um, Started riding her, which she was super easy to train. I mean, the good ones are you don't really
Yeah.
ever remember training them, and so I just, but it was kind of grooming her, getting her ready for the shows, and kind of figuring out what they liked, and kind of figuring all that out. And she was honestly the first horse that I ever thought I could have a chance to win on at the futurities. And so she goes when she's 4, and she wins. She won. She wins. I think she won the 4-year-old incentive, or won second in the 4-year-old incentive, and wins second overall in the big futurity that year at Fort Worth. And so she wins like 25,000. She's won maybe 40 up high 40s in the shows, and I'm not a guy that goes to all the futurities because I'm rodeoing, and so rodeoing is my main priority. And I was going to go to the futurities when I could, and so she went to a handful of futurities, and she's won quite a bit of money in the futurities over the last couple of years. And she's 6 this year, fixing to be 7, and I'm super proud of how she's done out here, and it's been really crazy how good she's taking it out here.
Do you see a lot of guys that pro rodeo now? Do you see them getting into the fraternity world? We went to our first one, well, my first one, I guess, at the Lazy E, and man, we ran into a lot of people, a lot of pro rodeo guys, and it was cool for me because you really got to see the horse work.
It's something that the guys that has grown up making horses and doing that, it's given them somewhere to go after rodeo. I don't think like Joseph, for example. I mean, he can still make finals anytime he wants to, but he's at home making futurity horses, and he won the deal in Guthrie on
Hmm.
one of our studs.
Oh, really?
The Blue Roan 4-year-old stud is a heel horse of ours that he won the deal with.
Mhm.
Anyway, we sent him with Joseph, and Joseph is doing a great job, and he's winning at that deal. But it is cool to see the rodeo guys that take pride in making horses and stuff like that to be able to go to the futurities and make horses like that. And it's got better. Like the AQHA show was not realistic enough in the team roping to make horses last. And so the other thing is with the futurities, it's getting better. So like my mare, for example, she done good in the futurities, and now she's fixing to have a career in the rodeo world. And so, training them to be good at the futurities, but then also making them, the trick to the deal is if they're good in the futurities, they need to be able to be good outside the futurities. And so a lot of times you see horses that when they get done futurity and they're done. And
Hmm.
so that's what our whole program is. What we're wanting to do is we're mixing cow and run, and we've got running mares and cow mares, and we've got cow studs. And anyway, we're super excited about the future, and like our stud, we're breeding to running bred mares and making head horses is what we're trying to do. And it's gonna be a lot of
So,
fun.
so for the listeners that are just kind of tuning in or whatever, basically what you're doing is like what like they say, like Sean Strickland, that guy that just won the UFC world champion, he didn't train as a boxer. He didn't train as a guy straight karate. He trained as an MMA guy. So that's what you're doing, right? You're training these horses to be rope horses.
You're exactly right. So, in the roping deal, to go find head horses now, or heel horses even, is they're worth a lot of money because you can win a lot of money. But it's most of the horses that we go, in years past, and most of them are rejects from something else. Okay, and our whole deal is we don't want the rejects.
Not no more. You can't.
You don't want
Yeah,
the,
you can't win at the futurities no more doing that.
So we are trying to make horses that were not reject. Like we're trying to make the cow and the run. Like the whole deal is if you got a running bred horse, a lot of times their mind might not be good enough to do the roping. Or if you got a straight cow bred horse, they might not be fast enough to win in the summer. And so we're trying to have the right mix. And so we're super excited. We got the Betty's a Gin and Stud is going to have 12, 13 babies on the ground out of running bred mares that are the best running bred these brood mares we got, which my father-in-law and my father's brother, we're in this deal together, and it's going to be really exciting. We're pretty pumped. We've got a really good set of mares, and our stud we're pretty proud of. And
yeah, I was so impressed just by being the average fan. I was so impressed to watch them horses at the futurity.
It is fun to see.
I mean, and it's Caesar's telling us about this and that, everything, and man, we watched them work, and I was like, holy crap, like it's next level. Like that big brown horse that Trevor rides. I don't know if I ever seen a better head horse. I mean, and just some of them heel horses, and they were amazing.
It's getting real tough. It's getting super competitive, and like you said, it's going to be and like I said, the quality of horses have since it started is unreal. What it's turned into, and so most of the time a guy gets a prospect. Now a prospect's going to cost something.
Well, like that. Well, what did your mare cost as a 2-year-old?
Well, so that's a crazy deal. Me and David James, I go and look at her as a 2-year-old, which is 4 years ago, and so this is right before it all kind of blown up. It kind of blew up. I didn't want a mare. He tells me that he said I called him because I had a gelding that was he was a 2-year-old, and it was the smartest 2-year-old I've ever messed with, and I'm like, this is a smart horse, and so I find out that David had raised these horses, and so David lived in right there around Wayne, Oklahoma, is where David was at, and he was raising these horses, and so I called him and I said, "Hey, you got any more of these colts?" I said, "Man, I got a gelding that I'm really proud of," and he started real easy, and he said I've got some colts. He said the one you're gonna want is probably a mare, and I was like, "Nah." I said, "Nah, I don't really want a mare." He said, "Well, come look," and so it was after the U.S. Finals 4 years ago in Oklahoma City, and I stop in, and I go through his barn. We're looking, and I was looking through there. I'm like, "Man, we're nice." I said, "What's that one right there?" He said, "That's the mare I was telling you about." And I said, "Man, she's gorgeous." And he said, "Yeah, I think she's going to be legit." And so he told me, he said, "Hey, I want 20,000 for her." And it was just like 20, it's just
She's only 2.
Unheard of, right? And so, I mean, now it's not, but it was just like, he knew how good she was going to be. He knew what she cost. I mean, knew what she was worth. And so I said, "Man, I love her, but I can't." And he said, "Why don't you just take her home? Me and you're just, we'll be a partners on her." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yep." And so I take her home, and anyway, it's been so awesome to see how that mare has gone. I mean, like I said, I never really remember ever training her. She's just been a great mare, and I'm super excited to see like her babies and how she's going to be. And then not only what I'm going to win on her is going to be awesome too. I hope it continues, and it's been unreal.
Cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, the game is changing a lot, and like say somebody wants to get a colt out of that mare, how would they go about that? Or say maybe in the future.
Well, I don't know. It's going to be kind of tough probably to get one out of her right now. She's the premier rope horse deal is what
is that like a .com or something?
We've got I'm so bad on social media, like terrible.
Me
but
too,
there's a girl that's running all of our. I think that stud is on. There's Facebook and there's Instagram and all this stuff that Premier Rope Horse stuff's on, and But like I said, we're just now getting started. The first babies are going to be on the ground this spring, out of the stud, and then my mare's going to have a colt this spring, and so it's it's going to be something interesting to see. And you know, we're gonna flush her to our studs and kind of see how it goes. And I don't know. I'm super excited to see how the babies turn out, which I'll be almost done by the time all these babies are probably to ride.
I
But
don't know if you'll be done.
it'll be. I would love to. I would love to ride some colts out of our stuff
That'd be cool.
and make it at the finals. That's what the goal is. And but if my kids want to rope one of these days, I'm hoping I can have them mounted. So.
My kids are wanting to rope a bunch, and I got a few horses that I trained and started and stuff, and it's really cool to watch and see. It's like, man, I'd rather go train horses for them now and see how they go about it. It's
Who knows? Someday Gio might have premier rope horse on his
telling
shirt.
you, I like that mare a lot. Like
Yeah.
she's
You've
gonna be real
talked about
special,
to me
yeah.
that mare.
And I know like Haley Kinzel's really promoting her sister mare, and like you're really doing good with your mare. Like there's gonna be the future of our game looks bright because like I say now they're breeding horses specifically for heading and specifically for healing and like just team roping in general. And it's like, man,
They're training fighters.
yeah, the 5-10 years from now the horses are gonna long manes and tails and look the part and be world class, and the riders are gonna be world class too. And just like I said, we saw a 3-1 happen the other day over here. They called it out for a crossbar, but I think, and you've been here enough, man, that if everything sets up just right and you get that flag, it's possible. And I think we're gonna see more of them kind of runs in the future when them horses are working right.
That's what people say. I don't know how roping can get any more tough than what it is, but and honestly, it has every year.
We've seen it this year.
Guys are getting better. There's guys that rope better, and then there's guys that are on better horses. And so when you put that together, when you start having, I feel like the roping in general has got better, but when you get the horses that are, when the horses are going to get better. That's what people haven't realized. There's been a couple of great horses throughout the years in the team roping world. Don't get me wrong, that today would be great horses, but when you get a group of horses, at the NFR that instead of there being one or two great horses, when there's 15
what you're
great
saying,
horses,
Yeah.
then how fast is it going to get?
Right. It's easy to point out one or two that are shining, but when all 15 of them are shining, I mean, they're
It's-
second to none.
It's coming.
Yeah, I got to see Transmission start his whole career. I was there at Rannon's place when they were starting all them Hollywood done at Colts, and it's just seeing him now. It's like, man, and talking to Rand a little bit, like there's a lot of pride you take out of that. Like it was a lot of work there for a little bit, and then now like look at him, like them horses that just stand in the box. It's loud in there for people that don't know and never been to the Tolleson-Mack. It's the vibrations loud, the announcers talk, and then you're wanting them to lock in, and for a horse to listen to the shoots and like listen and dial into what's going on, man, that's just amazing. And
It seems like every night Coulter's heel horse is kind of spinning out of there.
yeah,
Is that just
it's
The heel. Heading is, for a head horse to stand in the box during all that is impressive, but for a heel horse to stand over there, because healer don't nod, so it's like they have to. They're like hazing here at the NFR or healing here at the NFR. Getting a start would be tougher than actually heading or bulldogging, because you're actually nodding. But when you're not nodding,
right?
how hard is it to be like, okay, your horse has got to stand perfectly still. The steer's fighting the chute. You don't know when your guy's going to nod, but as soon as he nods, you're fixing to kick his lungs out, for 2 strides. It's like, for a heel horse to stand over there and
It's
just
pretty impressive,
It's
I've seen some of those heel horses that almost look like they're looking over and they're looking at the header, like, okay, dude, we're on the same team.
I seen him nod. Okay, now we go.
Give me a little heads up.
Like Payton, I had him on yesterday. He talked about it a lot. He's really happy to be roping with you, and man, it's kind of like a dream come true. You guys are kind of grew up together a little bit, and he said, man, it's having a horse to leave fast enough on the heel side to be able to outrun the head loop a little bit, because that steer you had the other night, even last night, was it you guys split the demo, you guys were 4 flat. That steer's peeled off to the left, and the word on the street on that steer is you can't leave fast enough. Like the gates pop, you got to get to going, and he splits the chutes that fast. And to have a heel horse, one steer that steps to the left, and have your head loop get on that fast, to be able to have a heel horse get there, score good, and get there, that takes a special horse.
He's Payton his heel amazing for me out here, and that heel horse he's riding is is awesome. I mean, just so great. But yeah, Peyton's done a great job. That round that we actually split is what is kind of funny. I said, you know how team roping is. Like, that was the worst job I've done, you know, other than missing, obviously, but that was the worst steer I spun. And then we win the day money on that steer. But um, the, if a header keeps him on shorter rope, it's easier. But like right there, like steer beats me out of the chute. Well, he's leaving. Peyton is leaving when I'm leaving. Well, I'm late already, and then I reach. So now for a healer to be good enough to not follow
Yeah.
me, to stay around the cow and to still go to the end of the steer and be able to heal the steer like that. It's amazing, really, how good a job you have to do healing out here. It's tough.
Yeah, that guy definitely knows his job. I mean, he's watching feet. Like, it doesn't matter where they're going. He's roping feet.
He's roping so good.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
good.
He's
I like that the other night when you had to reach, right? Because you always hear so much about these guys that reach, right? T Wade and Dustin and all these guys. The guy that I seen reach the other night was this guy. I mean,
Well,
you used every bit of that rope.
I talked about a jackpot that I missed for you. What the cool thing about the way when you rope, you stick and you can rope them from 3 coils back and handle them like you run way up there, and that was kind of one thing that I did when at the jackpot you hung beef. It was 2 3 coils back, and I thought you were going, and I let my horse go and I crashed the corner right there, and you're like, hey dude, I'm laying it up. I'm trying to give you a shot like I was at a Heel-O-Matic,
Yeah.
You're just over here just crashing in there. But that's what I like about your style. You've always done that. You've healed before. You know what it's supposed to look like back there. And so you've really set the steer up for that shot to be thrown fast every time. So man, that's pretty special.
I know how it's supposed to look, but I don't do it every time. That's what I said about trying to master this. You was talking about golf a little bit. Like, the thing about team roping and golf, I feel like probably is what they have similar is you cannot perfect it, and
No.
it is the most frustrating thing in
Yes.
the world because
Yeah, because what's the hardest thing about
can't
golf, right? Little white ball in the hole, no big deal. Your job, put the rope around the horns, no big deal. You know what I mean?
it sounds so easy, and,
Right.
and to perfect it is you can it's so frustrating, and that's probably the reason why I love it so much. I guess is because if it was easy, I probably would have quit. But it's so hard to master every setup, every situation, to be able to head the steer as fast as you can, and then not only like you said, it's a team deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's luck if you give a bad hand on a guy catches one. That's going to happen sometimes. But if you do your job the right way, the healer that you're going to have healing for you is going to catch way more than he misses. And so you have to
That's for sure.
eliminate all the, I don't like the word luck that much, but a lot of it, you have to eliminate the luck part. And by that is if I do a great job, I eliminate a lot of the luck. And a guy that's, like Peyton's healing for me out here is,
I heard from a guy
Great.
a long time ago, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
that's exactly right.
This
That's
guy works
exactly how
hard.
it is.
You know
I mean,
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Clay, man, you've been out here, and thank you for coming on the Tolleson-Mack
thank you.
podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I was excited to jump on the
Yeah,
second half.
yeah.
Thank you.
We usually try to end this deal with some kind of, like, especially at the finals, some kind of inspiration. You've come a long ways, and you mentioned that it was a dream that you didn't think you'd get there, and all of a sudden, man, world champ, like you're one of the best. That's honestly, been one of the best that ever lived. Especially, you changed the game a lot. You, like I said, being able to reach and set the steer up like that. That's the next generation. And so, like, you're one of the greats.
I appreciate that.
Any words of wisdom for some young talented kids
Yeah.
out there?
Like we talked about, I guess, if you're watching or you're wanting to, you think that you want to come out here one of these days, there's, having your priorities right. It's the, first thing. And then really everybody says it's hard work. It is the most hard work, but when you're young, like I was, I never thought of it as work. I think it's consuming yourself with picking a couple of guys that do it. I'm not even gonna say the right way, but do it the way that wins the most. And if a guy will, kind of take 2 or 3 things from 2 or 3 different guys, that's how I done it. Is I watched 2 or 3 different guys that had a lot of success, and no, I don't swing on rope like them. No, I don't ride exactly like them, but I blended that with what I have. And so I guess if a guy can, pick out a couple guys you know, schools has, with the social media and all the stuff now, a guy can get a lot on that, but being around the right guys and trying your best to take what you have and put it with the guys that are having success And then other than that, like I said, there's nothing special about none of us. We're just I'm just a hillbilly kid that
Hard work pays off.
that won. So
Yeah.
it's just and hoping to get better. I'm still today. I hope I get better. You know,
Hard
I hope
work
I'm
and
not done.
dedication.
That's it.
Yep.
Always. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, Clay. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Take
Thank
it
you.
easy.
Appreciate
Good
it.
luck tonight.
Thanks
Finish
for
the
having
next
me.
2
All right.
rounds.
Thank you.
Strong.
Bye bye.